Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at a really dense philosophical address from back in 1977 by Sun Young Moon. It's called Let Us Thank God.
And this isn't just a religious speech. What we have here is really a systematic attempt to lay out a kind of universal blueprint.
A blueprint, right, one that tries to dictate the purpose and, I guess, the function of everything, including you, the listener.
Exactly. I mean, when we really synthesize what's being said here, we run straight into a worldview that is, well, it's absolutely foundational in its claims.
And what's the core premise?
The core idea, the thing you have to absorb right away, is that consciousness and a very deliberate divine purpose comes before matter.
Which is a huge contrast to a lot of modern ideas about, how the universe just sorts itself out.
A sharp contrast, yeah.
Ah.
We're diving into a world where everything is pre-planned.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that plan. We're going to try to synthesize the claims that man is the ultimate model for the universe.
And we'll have to get into the speaker's pretty challenging view of true love and what he calls his vertical connection.
Right, and finally, try to understand why universal gratitude is seen as like the fundamental currency for making this whole ideal work. So let's get into it.
Let's start with scale, because
Yeah.
the source immediately flips how we usually perceive things. Man's physical stature, it's small.
Tiny, really, in the grand scheme of things.
But the claim here is that we literally represent the entire universe. We're the microcosm.
So the source suggests God created the whole cosmos with man as the model.
Exactly. Man is the model, making humanity the ultimate glory of creation.
Okay, let's unpack that, the man as the model concept. Because if we are the blueprint, that must mean that creation wasn't just random.
Not random at all, not trial and error. The speaker asserts God had a definite plan, moving step by step from the most primitive life forms.
All the way up to man.
And then, and this is a key point, creation seems to have just stopped there. It stopped. And that conclusion is highly consequential in this whole philosophy. The fact that development seems to peak with man suggests that a pre-existing universal will planned this as the end point.
So the purpose was set before any of the material existence even began.
That's the idea. And that establishes a hierarchy where consciousness or God's plan is the absolute starting point.
And if purpose is the starting point, then everything has to align with it. The source talks about purpose having a dual structure inside us.
It does. There's the internal purpose, that's your mind, your spiritual energy.
And then the external purpose, which is your physical body.
And those two, they must harmonize. They have to pursue one common goal. Any conflict between your mind and your body is seen as a breakdown of the whole divine plan.
So how do they harmonize?
Well, achieving that harmony comes down to a really fundamental principle of interaction, which is called give and take.
Okay.
The idea is that interaction can't happen with just one thing. You need at least two elements, whether it's two particles, two people, two planets.
But there's a catch, isn't there?
A critical one. Those two elements, they have to be seeking a common benefit to get to real harmony.
Why isn't just a simple exchange enough? Why common benefit, specifically?
Because the source claims that mutual effort, the striving for that elevated goal, is what actually raises the value of that goal.
I see.
I mean, if I give just for my own sake or you give just for yours, the transaction is temporary. It's self-serving.
But if two parties give for a greater shared purpose, like a family...
A family or a nation, yeah. The resulting goal is elevated above the individual. Its value becomes universal. And this impulse, this give and take for mutual benefit, is supposedly encoded into the entire universe, not just us.
So this whole idea of pre-existing purpose, it really sets up a conflict with some other major worldviews.
It does, and the source meets that conflict head on. The core dispute, if you boil it down, is this. Which came first, matter or consciousness?
And the ideology here says...
Unequivocally, consciousness precedes matter. And the source is very explicit about what it sees as the opposition, which back in 1977 was communism.
Specifically, its philosophical engine, dialectical materialism.
Right. And for anyone listening who isn't, steeped in philosophy, we should probably clarify what that means.
Yes.
Dialectical materialism is it's the foundation of Marxist thought. It basically says that matter and material conditions are primary. They determine everything: consciousness, society, history.
But the source we're looking at flips that completely.
Completely. It argues that consciousness, God's plan, is what determines the material reality. It's a total inversion.
From material determinism to, I guess, conscious, purposeful determinism.
Exactly. And to make this point about planned purpose, the speaker uses a really specific and frankly memorable example:
The human eye.
the human eye. The observation is simple. Why do your eyes blink all the time and move around, while your nose, for instance, just stays still, even if you're walking through a dusty place?
Yeah, you don't even think about it.
And the source argues that the way the eye functions, the blinking to stop it from drying out, the movement to scan it, demonstrates a kind of built-in preparedness.
As if it knew what it would be up against.
Precisely. It suggests a universal consciousness must have planned the eye to cope with the atmosphere before the eye physically came to exist.
So if it were all just random chance, how could this complex protective thing have anticipated the need for lubrication and tracking?
That's the question it poses. That planned functionality is presented as the ultimate evidence against randomness. Everything exists for a pre-planned reason.
Okay, but if everything is planned, where does human choice or human creativity fit into this?
That's a powerful distinction. Because while all of creation follows this principle, man is set apart, uniquely so.
No.
The source claims man has the built-in energy not just to follow the plan, but to progress by his own creative efforts. We have this constant desire to pursue higher and higher goals.
To be more righteous, to be respected, things like that.
Exactly. Or even just to improve our physical surroundings. So the rest of nature is designed to function perfectly within its set parameters, but man is designed with this drive to perpetually seek involvement and elevate himself.
Our purpose isn't static then. It's about constant, self-driven progress toward a greater, preordained ideal.
That's the energy that separates us from, say, a blinking eye or a stationary nose.
So if we're designed to progress toward a higher goal, using our own creative effort, what's the force that connects us to that ideal?
The force that can't be changed by external pressures like electric shocks or atomic bombs is love. Love is the essential relator. It's what allows us to pursue this higher purpose.
And this idea of love is then broken down into a pretty specific hierarchy, which is supposed to be the key to understanding God's love. It starts with what the source calls horizontal love.
Right. Horizontal love. This is the initial focus, and it's centered on the marital relationship. A man's source of pride is his wife. A woman's is her husband. It's about two individuals striving to become one.
But, and the source makes this point, this relationship can be terminated. Divorce is possible.
And that leads directly to the second stage, vertical love, which starts with children.
So if the horizontal line of marriage can be broken,
The vertical line of love between a parent and child is described as irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Absolute. It's this vertical connection that links the family directly to God as the ultimate parent.
love gets deeper, wider, and more permanent once children are born.
It does,
Yeah.
which, if you think about it, creates a philosophical priority here.
Yeah.
If horizontal love is breakable, it really implies that the value of the marriage itself is secondary to the value of parenthood in this worldview.
The ultimate purpose of the horizontal relationship is to establish the vertical one.
Yes, and that vertical line then leads to the third and most important stage, parental love, which is described as the realization of God.
How so?
The claim is that only after you have your own children do you truly understand and appreciate the sacrificial nature of your own parents' love. And through that, you come to appreciate God as the one true parent. That love is described as the most wholesome and fundamental.
This vertical lineage then projects outward. The source says that since God is the oldest and the center of everything, the center of a home should be the oldest people.
The grandparents, the elders.
No.
Following this tradition reflects the universal ideal. The speaker even contrasts this with what he saw as a disregard for senior citizens in American society at the time.
And this connection between a universal ideal and its physical manifestation. This leads us to one of the most specific and I'd say challenging claims in the source.
It does. It's about the defined purpose of the physical body, especially the female form.
And the claims are very explicit.
Very. And strictly functional. The source argues that women were given wider hips for the ultimate purpose of bearing children with less suffering.
And large breasts to feed the child.
Exactly. The features are tied entirely to creating and nurturing the next generation.
So the source basically removes any idea of personal or carnal enjoyment from the function of the body.
Yes. The claim is these features are not for personal carnal desires or for others' desires,
Yeah.
and that the misuse of the body for carnal desire without devotion to children is, in fact, a violation of universal law. The body's design is purely for the purpose of continuing that vertical line of love.
Okay, shifting gears a bit from love to gratitude. This philosophy paints a really profound picture of where humanity starts. We're described as a chunk of indebtedness.
A chunk of indebtedness, it's a striking phrase. You owe your existence to three types of parents.
Which are?
First, God as the true parent. Second, your physical parents. And third, nature, the sunlight, the air, the food that sustains you.
And these are all described as investments that were made in your life unconditionally.
Right. And because life itself was given unconditionally, the source claims that, well, literal repayment is impossible. You can't pay back the air you breathe.
You can't pay back the intention behind your life.
You can't. And that realization is the key. Since you can't repay it, the only way to show gratitude for this unconditional gift is by giving to others.
So you have to be ready to give out everything you have because it was never really yours to begin with.
It turns gratitude into an active, outward-focused way of life, a lifestyle of selfless contribution.
And this is where that analogy of man as a microcosm or a museum becomes so vivid.
Yeah, the speaker claims his physical body is a museum because it has collected ingredients, food, elements from all over the earth. It's like you've figuratively traveled to all 6 continents. We're universal beings.
A physical collection of the entire planet.
And God, the source claims, is proud of this, proud that man is both visible and a microcosm of the whole world. And this universal function ties directly into the concept of sacrifice.
Everything must serve a greater purpose.
Everything. The idea is that even something like a carp caught for food achieves a perfected life if it dies for God's ultimate purpose.
By becoming the flesh and blood of God-centered people.
Right. The motivation behind the sacrifice, the greater purpose it serves, is what determines whether the action is honored or, well, cursed.
It really elevates sacrifice from a tragedy to a necessity.
It does. Everything in the universe is ready to sacrifice for man, because man is the ultimate goal. Therefore, man must also be ready to sacrifice for the ultimate purpose of the universe.
Which is defined as the love of God.
The love of God. And this principle, it leads to the source's final ultimate question, which is posed directly to you, the listener.
Am I ready to die for the love of God?
And if the answer to that really profound question is yes, the source claims that this death isn't an ending, it's a non-ending life on a higher level.
So it's the highest fulfillment of purpose, being able to give your life for the supreme love that invested so much into you.
Yes. It just reframes the entire journey, from the smallest internal purpose to the final external act.
It's a sweeping, all-encompassing worldview.
It really is. I mean, to summarize the framework, the source is basically positing that the entire physical universe, nature itself, is a kind of tangible gift.
A gift item provided by God.
Specifically designed to be used by man as an expression of love toward his mate, his family, and then ultimately a much larger purpose.
And that framework, it demands constant appreciation. The source says we have to train ourselves to live in continuous gratitude.
And not just for the big material things. It's about those universal fundamental gifts we ignore every day.
The sunlight, the air.
The ability to love, the ability to pursue that higher purpose.
And that brings us to the provocative thought we want to leave you with. The source acknowledges that misfortune and suffering, well, they're an inevitable part of life.
Right. But it makes this incredibly challenging claim. It says that maintaining gratitude, even when you're at the deepest level of misery, will inspire God to shed tears, and that this will lead to blessing, to the Mount of Glory.
Which suggests that suffering, when you endure it with thankfulness, isn't seen by the universe as a tragedy.
No, but rather as a dramatic, exciting movie spectacular that's being watched by God and the entire world.
So, if that's true, if our suffering is meant to be a moment of cosmic drama, then consider this. What specific, fundamental, universal gift are you neglecting to be truly thankful for today?
Find the answer, and perhaps you change the scene entirely.
Until next time.